Hey dudes, what's up? Did you see my intro? What'd you think? I really like it. I think it's cool. Tell me what y'all think. Today I wanted to talk about 3 ghost stories that happened to me when I went to the University of Motevallo, if you couldn't tell by my awesome intro. But first, I actually wanted to tell you the already paranormal stories or entities that supposedly surround Motevallo. The first one I would like to talk about resides in what is called Reynolds Hall. I almost said Palmer. Reynolds Hall, and it's a theater building and also classrooms. It was named after Clay Reynolds. One story says that during the Civil War, Captain Reynolds was given the duty of watching over the sick men because it was a Civil War hospital. They were attacked. He felt really, really guilty, and he vowed to never leave the building unprotected again in this lifetime or the next. So basically, the haunting in the Reynolds building would just be him. He's seen around a lot of the time. There's also some slight poltergeist activity, and also there's the story of the painting. There's a picture of him that hangs in the Reynolds building, and it was taken down and replaced by another painting, but when they came back the next day, that painting was removed and the other old painting was placed back up there, which I find incredibly strange. I have actually heard that story from one of the staff members, so that was really cool. Now, the next one I'd like to tell you is a story I know very well. It's the story of the main hall. That's the dorm I actually lived in for my entire year there. And the story is of a young girl named Connie. They were doing fondue in her room one day, or it was one night, and then the RA came in. Some said the bell's wrong. A bunch of different things happened, but basically they hurried to put away their fondue set. Alcohol spilled, and it caught Connie's nightgown on fire. She ran through the hallways on fire. Someone was able to put her out, but she died 2 days later in the hospital. And she's said to still haunt the 4th floor. Now, these are stories I've heard from the girls themselves, that their doors would open, their drawers would open, and they could hear a girl crying. When I got my room, the middle of my floor was very caved in, so it makes sense that drawers and doors would open to me. Now, her old room actually had her face in it, which was trapped within the flames. Now, that's a claim. I've seen the door. To me, it looks more like a pareidolia effect, but they put out the door every Halloween, so if you want to go see it and you live near Motevallo, I'd suggest you go check it out. They put it out in the library with some brochures, and anyone's welcome to come in and look at it. But they have actually since replaced her door with a metal one because too many people were interested. The next is the King House. The King House, the story behind it is of Edmund King. He was one of the first people that settled in Motevallo. He settled with his wife and children. They settled in the King House, which is on Motevallo. It is now used as a classroom sometimes, but it's really still kind of set up to how it was. And, I mean, what you would expect of someone living in their old house. The next story is about Palmer Hall. Now, this one I actually didn't know was haunted when I was there. This one I'm only finding out about through hauntedhouses.com. By the way, there's no sponsor or anything. I found this website, and out of all the ones I read from Motevallo, that one was my favorite, so that's just the one I'm using. Palmer Hall, I've actually ran through when it was empty. It was really, really fun, but nothing ever happened to me. They accidentally left the doors open, and we got to run through. We played on stage for a minute, but we didn't do much. Palmer Hall, there was a builder, and his name was accidentally left out by mistake, and he supposedly hangs around there. He talks to students that like to play on the stage. Palmer Hall is the main office, but it also has a grand theater on the back of it, so I really think that's pretty cool. Basically, it ends with still haunted, oh yes indeed, and oh yes indeed it is. So my 3 stories happen in between Main and Reynolds Hall. One of them happens on an old abandoned soccer field, and another one happens at Salt Kilns. None of these places are where anything like that has happened. or associates with anything that has happened. But I am going to leave this link down below so y'all can check it out yourselves, because I definitely think y'all should. So my 3 stories happen with, well, let me just explain how I met them. So I met my friends. One of them I met within like the first 5 minutes of moving there. I moved in, and in the middle of moving in, my ex-boyfriend at the time came to my room with his roommate, and I'm going to call him DeAndre. DeAndre and my ex named Urkel. Urkel and DeAndre came to my room, and that's when I got to meet DeAndre for the very first time. I went and met them at their room, which they had both signed up late for classes, so they ended up in the hotel, which is besides Reynolds building. And my first semester I was on the 1st floor, and then my second semester I was on the 4th floor. The 4th floor is where Connie was, but I never really stayed in my room, so I didn't have a lot of stuff happen to me. Anyway, we decided to go out and meet some new people. We were gonna go explore the campus and see what was just happening, what was going on. And we saw this guy walking with these 2 girls, and we were both heading towards the same bench. But they said, oh, they're gonna get the bench, so let's just let them have it. Then the guy stopped them and said, no, this is college. We are making friends. So the guy came over and introduced himself. I'm gonna call him Jake. Now, Jake ended up being one of my best friends while I was there at Motevallo. And Jake was one of the only people that actually got me away from my ex. And he was there for actually all 3 stories that I'm gonna tell you. So it was me, Jake, Urkel, and DeAndre. So for the first story, it was all of us were staying in Urkel and DeAndre's room. We were watching Netflix with some girls, 2 of the girls that were originally with Jake, and then a bunch of other friends that we had made throughout the time. DeAndre was notorious for having girls over in his room, and this particular day he had like 5 to 7 girls over, and they were all watching Netflix. Well, they decided to watch a scary series that me and Urkel were not ahead in yet. We weren't caught up with them, but they still wanted to watch it. So we told them, y'all go ahead and watch it, we're gonna go off. So we decided to go off. We couldn't go to my room because it was after midnight, and if we went to my room, we would have gotten in trouble. So we went down into the lobby and hung out in there. And we talked, but it didn't seem very long for me. I bet it seemed like a lifetime for him. And most of the girls had left at this point. That's how we knew that we could go back up. And when we went back up, it was DeAndre, Jay, and DeAndre's friend. And it was just us, and we decided that we wanted to go for a walk somewhere. We wanted to just get out. We wanted to get out of there. And one of his friends had told us about this really cool salt kiln that was around that athlete field. So they have fields for everything but football. And we decided to go out there, and as we were walking, it just felt kind of dark and heavy. But no one really said anything until we actually got out there. By the time we were out there, everyone but me and Urkel were saying things like, it's really uncomfortable here, I don't like the way it feels here. But me and Urkel really thought it was just the fact that they had been watching this scary series until it kind of hit us too. So we didn't even spend like 5 minutes out there, we just turned around and left. And upon leaving, in unison, we took off almost running for some reason. There was nothing out there, no reason for us to run, but yet we were still running as fast as we could, and it didn't make a lot of sense. But we could almost hear, or I could. I felt like I could hear something running behind us. And it really, really scared me. Me and Urkel were the last ones over the fence, because there's a huge fence that says stop for good reason right in front of the pathway, and we climbed over that fence, and I could just feel it stop. And it felt like a wall of dark, heavy, thick atmosphere. And we walked this path towards their dorm room, but to get to their dorm room, we had to pass through a line of trees. and it felt like this wall of dark, thick, black heaviness rushed forward and hit that line of trees right as we went through it. And then we walked back to their room, but we could still feel everything back far across the campus, but it could have just been our imaginations, but it really, really freaked us out. And that actually leads into my next story. Now, what happened that night intrigued me so much that I kept wanting to go back there, kept wanting to go back there, kept wanting to go back there. But DeAndre refused. He was not going to go back there for anything. But Jay was down to do whatever I was down to do, within reason, of course. He was very responsible and smart, but he was also really cool and fun to hang out with. So Jake and I were trying to get DeAndre to go hang out. And we were trying to get him to go to the salt kiln. DeAndre told us about a really cool abandoned soccer field or practice soccer field or something. So we decided we'll go out there and convince him to go to the salt kiln again. So we went out there. Mind you, it had been raining the past couple of days, so when we went out there was a really thick fog. Now, to get to this practice soccer field, you have to climb over a bridge and there's a line of trees. Again, like previously. But it's not the same place, it's another place on campus. And you have to climb over this bridge to this practice soccer field. And on this practice soccer field, since it had been raining, the fog lifted about 10 feet in the air, and you did not have a wide range of view. So we could spread out far enough so we could not see one another. And it was really fun. We were playing in the fog and having a lot of fun out there. But the minute I set foot on the field, all I could see was an Indian chief, like a portrait someone had taken. And he had a couple of feathers in his hair. His hair was up, kind of. He was sitting down, his hands were in his lap, and he was looking off to the side. And I saw this Indian chief portrait in negative, and then I could see straight through it, and then it was my normal vision. And the minute I stepped off of the soccer field, I could see normal. There was no more pictures. And later on, I found out that I think it's called Orr Park, which is a park at Motevallo, is actually an Indian burial ground. So that was really, really weird. And the last one actually happened at the end of this night. We couldn't convince DeAndre. Jake and I could not convince DeAndre to go back to the salt kiln, so eventually he got mad of us begging and went back up to his room, which left me and Jake to hang out by ourselves. So me and Jake went around to the front porch of the hotel, and we sat down. We were just talking. He was smoking a cigarette and looking straight down. Now, what you see from the front porch is a brick road that it looks like you're seeing the world kind of curve, because it curves off of your field of view. And it was a brick street with lights on either side. There was also a walkway on either side. On the left, there was the main building, or main hall. And on the right, there was Reynolds Hall. You could see Reynolds Hall, which was, remember, the old Civil War hospital. And we were sitting there, and we were just looking straight down the street. On the side of Reynolds Hall, there's like this little sitting area with a couple of benches, and it's really, really cool. We were just sitting, like, with our feet just outstretched in front of us. It was a nice warm night, and we were talking, and he actually got me talking about my paranormal stuff, all the things that have happened, what I see, and how I see things of that nature. As I was talking to him, I started to see stuff along the street. Right? We were sitting on this front porch, and we were talking, and I started to see a hooded figure with a mask on, and it was a white mask, and I could see the eyes, but the lower half of the face was kind of blurry and hard to see, and he was at, like, the front corner of Maine by a light post. I was telling Jake about it, and Jake actually started to see what I was seeing, because he was actually able to tell me when it disappeared. because it reappeared further down the street on the opposite side by another light post. Then another one appeared across the street and another one kind of in a triangle formation. They were all facing us. They all had different types of masks on. Some of them were clearer than others. One of them looked like a plague doctor mask and the other one looked like a human-shaped mask, but it was overall very blurry, but it looked human. And the other one didn't look anything. The eyes looked evil. But it didn't look human, it just looked evil. And then the lower half was blurry. They were all wearing robes and their hands were put together. I don't think I made that one up, only because Jake was beside me describing stuff without me having to prompt him. I was just really freaked out that night. So those are my 3 stories at Motevallo. That's my stories of Motevallo. Bye guys!